you even given it a moment's thought about what the combination lock is for success in selling? Because if you want to succeed, remember, you have to be persistent. You have to have a set of questions that are going to help you unlock the needs, unlock what your customer really wants. So let's consider the adage of I will until. Keep asking questions until you've unlocked all the information that you need to successfully close a sale. Because once you learn the art of using Lynchpin questions, and wow, I can hear you sitting there going, what the heck are Lynchpin questions? Well, sit for a moment. I'll tell you in a few seconds what a Lynchpin question is. But sit for a moment and imagine a really powerful set of questions that'll help you to unlock all the information you need about your customer's needs and allow you to easily close sales. That is a Lynchpin question. The secret, though, is they're not willy-nilly questions that you just pull out the air when you're sitting in front of a customer. They are written down, engaging questions that you've invested a lot of time into thinking through, testing, trying, working, using them until you get to a point that you've got questions that you feel, firstly, that you're comfortable with, secondly, that help you consistently achieve your goals of getting all the information that you need, allowing your customer and prospect to feel very comfortable with you. These are questions that you develop over time. They're not questions that happen in a day. They're questions that you gradually develop daily until you've got them refined, until you've got a set of really useful questions. Then you know your Lynchpin questions are successful. But it's crucial that they're written down. It's crucial that they are something that are on the tip of your tongue, something that you can easily and comfortably and effortlessly use in every single meeting that you have with your prospects and clients. Lynchpin questions are not just simple, basic questions. They are thought through, well-designed questions that help your prospects to consider new information or to look at the same information from a different perspective. It effectively unlocks thinking in your client. It makes you, or rather allows you, to differentiate yourself from the competition. Very important is not to be asking the same questions that your competitors are asking. You need to be developing, honing, polishing your questions until they get to a stage where they are unique, special, and questions that your customer doesn't hear or your prospect hasn't heard from your competitors or hasn't even heard before. Because there's no better endorsement for a Lynchpin question than, wow, nobody's ever asked me that question like that before, or wow, I've never thought about that from that perspective before. Then you know that your Lynchpin questions are really, really powerful. So keep polishing, keep honing, keep developing those questions every single day until you've got a perfect set of questions that are on the tip of your tongue. Because once your questions can help people to see things from your perspective, in other words, what is the value that I bring? How can that help you? In other words, ask questions that allow them to actually unlock their understanding, unlock their appreciation of what you have. Because as soon as you can ask questions that make them introspect, make the prospect think, make the prospect look, identify how their need will actually be completely satisfied with either the product or the service that you offer, at that moment, you have everything you need to unlock and close sales. Because if your linchpin questions are powerful enough, your prospects will actually convince themselves about the value that you offer. Your questions must be so well constructed that the prospect sits, thinks about things, thinks about their needs, assesses things using their values, and then actually convinces themselves that the value you bring is exactly what they need. Because remember, we're only working with qualified prospects. We're only working with prospects that need exactly what we have to sell. So convincing somebody that the value you offer is exactly what they need is just a case of asking the right questions so that they have a chance to stop, to think, to evaluate, assess, and actually see that, oh wow, this is the value that I really need. This is exactly what I need to solve a challenge, to support me, to help me, to assist me. At that moment, you've closed the sale. So what do you think your linchpin question should actually do? Because whether you believe you can sell or not, both ways you're right. Your linchpin questions need to be well constructed. They need to show your belief in what you sell. You need to be convincing. You need to be authentic, and you need to be sitting there in front of your prospect asking questions in a very prepared, organized, systematic way to actually show that, wow, I know your business, I know my product, and I know how when the two come together, how you will be supported to achieve your goals in the future, how you will be supported to better satisfy your needs. Your linchpin questions need to encourage your prospects to evaluate new information or evaluate the same information from a different perspective. Because what are you trying to really do with linchpin questions? You're trying to get your prospect or your customer to think. You're trying to get your prospect or your customer to introspect, to look at the value that you bring from your perspective. In other words, how can you support them? But your linchpin questions effectively allow them to look at your value and actually see how it can support them, how it can help them to achieve their goals. Really well constructed linchpin questions will help you to further qualify the customer and also possibly identify needs that you may not have identified when you were researching them or you were qualifying them in the first place. Your linchpin questions, like I said, they're not something that you're going to develop today and you're going to be using them for the rest of time. They're going to evolve, they're going to develop, they're going to improve. They effectively need to help you completely qualify your customers and understand their needs 100%. Because your linchpin questions will also help you to uncover how your value will support them. Your value is not just the value that your product brings, not just the value your service brings, but it's the value that you, your product, your service offer to them. Once you can understand how it will support them, and what I'm talking about here is how will it support them within their understanding of what their needs are. You know that your product will work for them. They're not sure. You need to ask questions to allow them to unlock how your value will support them. Because you can tell them, you can communicate it to them, but only once they have an understanding. In other words, from their perspective, they've understood, yes, your value is exactly what we need. Only at that point does it become easy to close the sale. Your linchpin questions need to also search. They need to also delve a little bit deeper. And they need to uncover both their business and, if possible, their personal goals. Because if you can talk to somebody within their own goal perspective. In other words, you can show them how your products and or services will help them to achieve their goals, help them to more easily reach their targets. People will be very, very happy. They will want to do business with you. Achieving your sales target will become very simple. So consider how you can construct linchpin questions to uncover your prospects' goals, to support them, to see how your value will actually help them to achieve their goals. I can't say this enough times. Your linchpin questions have to make people stop and think for a moment. Because it's no good asking a simple basic question that they can just fire an answer at you. You need to really make them introspect, because the more they introspect, the more they have to think and evaluate, the more they're going to see how your value will integrate and actually serve, help and support them to solve a challenge, better meet a need, etc. So your linchpin questions need to be well thought out, well constructed, and really, really make your prospects introspect and think very deeply. And most importantly, those linchpin questions have got to separate you from the competition. Never compare yourself to the competition. The last thing you want to be doing is asking questions that are going to force the customer to start comparing you. You want to stand out. You want to be unique. You want to highlight all your unique selling propositions, all your unique benefits, all the things that are unique about your product and service that are going to make you stand out. You want to be differentiated. You don't want to be compared to the competition. The moment you start comparing, you're putting yourself on the back foot. Be sure that your questions are well constructed and that they separate you from the competition. And the crucial concept is, most salespeople go in and promote a selling atmosphere. Linchpin questions that are well constructed carefully move the conversation to where you can encourage a buying atmosphere in the meeting. In other words, the customer, the prospect, wants to engage with you in an atmosphere of mutual fair exchange. In other words, it's mutually beneficial for them to want to purchase your product. They effectively are sitting in a position where they want to buy, not where they feel they've been sold to. So think about your questions. Ask yourself, am I trying to sell to the person or to the prospect with these questions? Or am I trying to unlock their needs and build an atmosphere where they are comfortable to buy? Okay, so let's have a look at a couple of examples of linchpin questions. The first thing that you need to consider when you're constructing these questions is you've got to accept 100% responsibility for achieving your sales targets. Because the moment you can do that, the moment you accept 100% responsibility, and it's not because the state of the economy is poor, it's not because interest rates are high, it's not because your sales manager is unreasonable that you're not achieving your sales targets. If you're not achieving your sales targets, it's because you are not doing what you need to be doing. These linchpin questions are part of the process. They are a crucial part of the process, which allows you to unlock the needs, the specific, unique needs of your customers and prospects, and allows you to communicate the right way to them. In other words, you get such a good understanding of what their needs, challenges, etc. are, that it becomes easy for you to close the sale. So yes, you need to accept 100% responsibility for achieving your sales targets. If it's to be, it's up to me. All right, let's have a look at a couple of examples of linchpin questions. The first one is, what do your customers think about when they think about your product or service? Now, what that question does is it makes the prospect think, it makes them introspect and reveal to you what their specific needs or the needs of their specific customers may be. So it delves deeper than just basic understanding. Second one would be, when you're looking out of the window of your new home, what would you like to see? Wow, what a powerful linchpin question that is. What you're actually doing is you're taking the person and projecting them into that home as though they've already bought it, and you're asking them what they would like to see. That's going to give you a whole lot of information about the area where they'd like to stay, what they'd like in the home. It uncovers a whole lot of deep understandings that will help you and also support you to better support them. Because ultimately, selling is all about helping. Because how do you spell sell? You don't spell it S-E-L-L, you spell it H-E-L-P. And the more your linchpin questions can uncover ways that you can help your customers, the better off you're going to be. Carefully construct your linchpin questions. Sit constantly with the modality of how can I help you, and closing sales becomes really simple. And for example, if you were an investment broker or someone who sells investments and you wanted to know what they really thought about investing, how about saying, when buying investment products, what are the 3 mistakes people make? What is the prospect going to tell you? They're going to tell you what they see as the challenges out in the marketplace related to financial services, related to financial products. Those, when they answer that question, they are giving you all the ammunition you need to already start answering any objections that they're going to have down the road. They're going to tell you exactly what they see as the challenges, and you can communicate, you can easily manage any objections that are going to come up. And how about if you were sort of in the business of selling communication products? And you asked a question like, if your most important customer called, how would the message be delivered to you? What are they telling you? They're telling you, they're answering the question, and they're instantly telling you exactly what you need. They're telling you what their current system is, but they're not just answering the question. They're having to think a little bit deeper. They're having to think about, how do things work right now? What that potentially highlights is, wow, you're describing something that's so powerful and incredibly useful, and my current system actually has holes. So what they're effectively doing is they're looking at the great product you offer and comparing it to what they have. In other words, they are selling your product to themselves. They are identifying the real intrinsic value that your product actually offers. And imagine if you're selling a car to somebody. Again, you want to put them in the car. You know, believe this. You know that your car is the best possible vehicle that they could buy. Well, why would you be working for a company that sells anything but the best? You want to work for the company that sells the best products and services, right? You can't sell something unless you believe in the product 100%, unless you are convinced that what you sell is the best solution for your prospects. You will never be successful in selling. So what does this linchpin question unlock? It says, who would be the first person who you would show this car to? You've already put them in the car. They're already seeing themselves driving that vehicle up the road, and they're answering the question about where they would go. Immediately, you get an understanding of, if that's the first person they would take and show the car to, how can I communicate the value my vehicle really offers to that specific need within them? So linchpin questions dig deeper. Linchpin questions help you to uncover those hidden things that the prospect would not necessarily easily reveal to you. Again, if you were in the financial services industry and you asked a question like, how have you used financial services products to secure your financial wealth? They would immediately have to introspect and describe to you what they've done with their investments in the past, how investments have actually served them, or how they have not served them. And again, that would give you the opportunity to manage objections before they even came up. You could actually deal with all those objections before they became an issue. And finally, what has been your experience when buying cables in the past? So, for example, if you're in the business of selling really sophisticated technical cables, this question would allow you, or rather allow them, or force them to introspect and describe the experience that they've had in the past when they bought similar cables. That would reveal a whole lot of really powerful, useful information to you that would allow you, again, to manage and handle objections before they even come up, give you the opportunity to better understand their needs, identify their challenges, and support them with your product, which you obviously know is the right solution for them. Otherwise, you wouldn't be there, right? You don't go and spend time with people you haven't qualified. So obviously, it's what they need, exactly what you have to sell. Your linchpin questions are effectively your power tool for uncovering everything you need to know to effortlessly close almost every single sale. Because linchpin questions effectively lock out the competition. Your linchpin questions are so powerfully constructed. Your linchpin questions are so thorough. They draw out so much information. They allow your prospect to see that the value you bring is so perfect for them that it effectively locks the competition out. Because remember, believing starts the achieving. So ask yourself this question right now. Do you really believe that you have what it takes to achieve your sales targets this year? Do you believe that you have everything it takes to close virtually every single sale? Because when you walk into that sale, when you walk into that meeting, and you believe 100% that what you offer is the best possible solution for that customer, they're going to feel your energy, they're going to feel your passion, they're going to feel your drive, they're going to feel your authenticity, they're going to sense your belief in your product. So do you believe 100% in what you sell? Is it the best possible product out there? You need to get that deep, that fire in your belly, that belief that what you sell is exactly what your customers need. So what do linchpin questions actually do for you, right? They draw out the likes and dislikes of your prospects. In other words, they reveal an incredible amount of information about what they need, what they want, what they expect from you, what they don't want from you. Once you ask those really powerful linchpin questions, and again, remember, this is not something that's going to happen overnight. Your linchpin questions are not something you just think up one day and tomorrow you use them for the rest of time. It takes time. They take time to develop. So you need to understand that you're starting a process here. You're not starting this is not an event, for want of a better word. It's a beginning of a process. Accept that. Put in the effort to develop linchpin questions, and you can become one of those super salespeople out there. Every single super salesperson I've ever met have a natural affinity. They have developed incredible linchpin questions which support them to be successful. Because once you can unlock your prospect's needs, if your linchpin questions are so well constructed that they completely unlock the fine details of exactly what your prospect or your customer needs, you can easily communicate the value you offer. But remember, you can never communicate value unless you know what it is. So revisit, if you're not 100% sure of what your product or service can do for your customers and your prospects, revisit that, become crystal clear on exactly what it is, develop linchpin questions to unlock those specific needs, find a way to marry the two together, and you will close virtually every single sale. Great linchpin questions also force the prospect to delve deep, force the prospect to stop and think, and it reveals their specific challenges, because you're in the business of providing solutions, right? So if your linchpin questions can unlock your prospects' real challenges, all you left to do is communicate exactly how your value will help support them to reduce or eliminate those challenges. And one of the most crucial things that great linchpin questions do is they allow you, or rather they allow the customer to introspect and to gradually reveal all the things that they would potentially object to later on. So what you're doing is you're uncovering all the things that are potentially an issue to them before they actually raise them. The sooner you can show them how prepared you are, the sooner you can show them how much you understand their business, the more they're going to know, like, and trust you. And remember, people buy from people they know, like, and trust. So if you can eliminate objections before they even come up, closing sales becomes almost effortless. Good, well-constructed linchpin questions allow you to create understanding between yourself and the prospect. Why? Because the question forces them to introspect, forces them to stop and think, forces them to uncover their specific challenges, their specific needs, and allows you to more clearly communicate how your value will support them to eliminate a challenge, better satisfy a need, or to help them in a better, more appropriate fashion. What is the one challenge, or one of the major challenges, when you're trying to positively influence somebody to see something from your perspective, or said differently, sell something to somebody? It's a breakdown in communication, right? Because if you can't adequately communicate the value you bring, it doesn't matter whether your value is better, your value is exactly what your prospect needs, unless they can understand it, unless they can appreciate it from their perspective, it'll be pointless. So you need to use your linchpin questions to allow you to better communicate with your prospects. And most importantly, all of the understanding that you will develop, the improved communication, the ability to eliminate challenges, the ability to reduce objections, the way to draw out their likes and dislikes, that will effectively all add up into a simple way of closing virtually every single sale. What more could you ask for? You need to get out there and start developing your own linchpin questions. Okay. So how do we develop our own linchpin questions? Where do we start from? Well, let's ask you this question first of all. Do you honestly believe in what you sell? Do you believe that the person you're sitting in front of could not find a better alternative for what you're offering? Because when you can get that deep-rooted belief, that deep-rooted understanding that, yes, what I sell is the best thing that you could possibly get, then the prospect is going to feel your energy, your authenticity, and want to do business with you. They will quickly get to trust you in those circumstances. Okay, let's have a look at a couple of ideas, a couple of examples of how you can actually start developing your own linchpin questions. The way that I like to start is remember, a linchpin question is an open-ended question. It's not something that you can answer with a yes or a no. It's got to be a well thought out question that is going to allow your customer or your prospect to think deeply. It's going to have to allow them to introspect. It's going to allow them to reveal as much information to you as possible about their needs, likes, dislikes, etc. They're engaging questions. They're informative questions. They're well thought out questions. They're not questions that have been asked by your competition. So what you're seeing appear on the screen right now is examples of how you can start to construct your linchpin questions. These are examples of what you can use as starts to your sentences. So for example, you could say, how do you determine whether you're getting the kind of quality product that you feel you deserve? Or what do you look for when you're engaging somebody to come and sell you very sophisticated technical cables? Or for example, how do you propose we proceed from here to ensure that you get the value that you're actually looking for? Those kind of questions allow you to unlock the information you're looking for. But now remember, your industry is very specific. Your industry has very specific needs and requirements. Your linchpin questions are not something you're going to develop in a day. These are something that you're going to spend a lot of time developing, a lot of time testing in the field, because there's no better way of testing whether they work other than actually using them at networking events, sitting in front of those decision makers, actually asking the questions and seeing what information actually comes out after the meeting. And this is something you need to remember. Always write down those questions that really worked. But also remember, when you're sitting in those meetings, have a pen and pad handy. It's no good asking all these incredible linchpin questions where your prospect is revealing an unbelievable amount of useful information and you don't write down that information. It does two things. One thing, it shows your prospect that you really care about what they have to say. Secondly, it gives you a way to easily record all of that information so that when you go, you can prepare, you have an understanding of how to, at the next meeting, communicate exactly what the prospect needs.